Here's Dr. David Sinclair in 2013, and here's what he looks like today. Back then, he was 44 years old. Now he's 56, but his biological age tests closer to that of a youth. He's not a biohacker on Instagram. He's a Harvard professor of genetics. And in 2026, he quietly updated his personal supplement protocol again. He dropped something millions of people are still taking every single day. He added something that shocked the entire longevity world. And there's one compound in this stack so controversial, his own colleagues have publicly criticized him for using it. We're covering all of it today. Every compound, every dose, every reason why. But here's the one thing I need you to stay for. Around the halfway point, we're going to cover the change that most creators completely skip. It's about something you might already be taking, and it might make you throw it in the bin. Let's go. Who is David Sinclair? Quick background. Sinclair is a Harvard professor of genetics with over 170 published papers. 170. That's not a blogger. That's a scientist with receipts. He openly calls his supplement routine an experiment on himself. His words, not mine. So this is not medical advice. Anything here that involves prescription drugs needs a real doctor. I'll flag those clearly as we go. Now, here's what we're covering today. 5 compounds he's actively taking. 1 he cycles on and off. 1 controversial prescription drug. And the thing he stopped taking, and why that might matter more than everything else on this list. The why always matters more than the what. Let's start with the foundation. NMN, the foundation. NAD is a molecule inside every single cell in your body. Think of it as your phone battery. At 100%, everything runs perfectly. At 50%, things still work, but you feel the drag. At 20%, things start breaking down. Now here's the problem. Between the ages of 40 and 60, NAD levels in your muscles and tissues can drop by roughly 50%. And most people just call that getting older. NMN is a direct precursor to NAD. When you take NMN, your body converts it into NAD, replenishing exactly what aging is draining away. Sinclair takes around 1 gram of NMN every morning. And here's why it stayed in his 2026 stack. Human trials have shown NMN can meaningfully raise blood NAD levels and improve insulin sensitivity in older adults. It's not a miracle pill, but it's one of the very few compounds that directly targets a biological decline we can actually measure. That's why it still is number 1. But NMN doesn't work alone, and this is where things get interesting. Resveratrol, the most debated supplement in longevity. Let me be straight with you about this one. If you searched resveratrol right now, you'd find serious scientists calling it overhyped. You'd find studies that fail to repeat the early results. And you'd be right to be skeptical. Why does the man whose own lab produced the original resveratrol research still take it every single day? Because context changes everything. Resveratrol is a natural compound found in grapes and red wine. Sinclair's lab showed it activates something called SGRT1 in animal studies, a protein linked to cellular repair and longer lifespan in yeast and mice. Yes, large human trials haven't shown dramatic effects. That's true, but here's what Sinclair actually argues. Resveratrol is fat-soluble, meaning your body absorbs it much better when taken with fat. He takes about 1 gram daily with yogurt or olive oil, and he doesn't treat it as a standalone anti-aging drug. He sees it as part of a system. NMN raises NAD. NAD activates the repair proteins called sirtuins. Resveratrol pushes those same repair proteins even harder. It's synergy, not magic. That's compound 2. The next one is newer, and it targets something researchers call zombie cells. That's not a metaphor. That's the actual science. Fisetin, the zombie cell cleaner. As you get older, some of your damaged cells stop dividing but refuse to die. They just sit there, leaking inflammatory signals into the surrounding tissue. Researchers call them senescent cells. Most people call them zombie cells because that's exactly what they are. That inflammation doesn't stay local. It spreads. Joints, heart, brain. Researchers now believe this is one of the central drivers of how the body breaks down as we age. Fisetin is a compound found in strawberries. And it's what's called a senolytic, meaning it helps clear those zombie cells out. In animal studies, Fisetin reduced senescent cell levels and extended healthy lifespan. Human trials are still running, but early signals are promising. Here's the key detail. Sinclair doesn't take Fisetin every day. He uses it periodically in pulses. The idea is you clear the damaged cells, let the body recover, and repeat the cycle later. That shift towards cycling instead of constant dosing is one of the biggest themes in his 2026 thinking. Timing matters as much as what you take. Now, the next compound is where things get genuinely surprising. Taurine, the shocking 2026 edition. In 2023, a major study was published in Science, one of the most respected scientific journals on the planet. What it found stopped the longevity world cold. Taurine levels decline sharply with age across multiple species, including humans. And when researchers gave middle-aged mice supplemental taurine, their healthy lifespan increased. Bone strength improved. Muscle function improved. Immune markers improved. Metabolism improved. Here's what got me. Taurine isn't exotic. It's in energy drinks. It's in meat and fish. It's been sitting in plain sight for decades. And this study suggested that declining taurine isn't just a symptom of aging. It may actually be one of the things driving it. Not in worms, not in fruit flies, in primates, in humans. Sinclair added taurine after that publication. He takes a few grams daily, in line with the amount studied by researchers. If you're over 50, this one deserves your attention, because restoring something your body is measurably losing may be one of the simplest moves available to you right now. Quick pause here. If you've learned something new in this video, tap like. It's 1 second and it helps us reach more people. And drop a comment. Are you already taking any of these? I genuinely read them. Okay, because now we're moving into prescription territory. Metformin and Berberine. Blood sugar is the hidden enemy. Metformin is a prescription drug most people associate with type 2 diabetes. But here's why Sinclair uses it, and why blood sugar matters to everyone, not just diabetics. Metformin activates something called AMPK, a cellular energy sensor. When AMPK is activated, your body increases its cleanup processes, reduces inflammation, and improves how it handles glucose. There's even a large clinical trial called TAME, specifically designed to test whether metformin can delay age-related diseases in healthy people. Sinclair takes about 1 gram a night. But here's the twist. He cycles off metformin during periods of heavy strength training because some research suggests it may reduce muscle adaptation gains. During those periods, he switches to berberine. Berberine is a plant-based compound that works through the same AMPK pathway. Some studies suggest it can come close to metformin's effectiveness for blood sugar and metabolic markers. Before we move on, why does blood sugar matter so much for aging specifically? Because when glucose stays elevated over time, sugar molecules start binding to proteins and damaging them. This process is called glycation. And glycation is directly linked to cardiovascular disease, brain decline, and accelerated aging across the board. Controlling blood sugar isn't just a diabetic concern. It may be one of the most powerful longevity tools available to anyone. Now, I need you to actually pay attention for this next one, because this is the compound that makes other longevity researchers uncomfortable. It's the one critics point to when they call Sinclair's self-experimentation reckless. And it also has the most consistent lifespan extension data we have ever seen in mammals. Rapamycin, the controversial one. Rapamycin was originally developed as an immune suppressant for organ transplant patients. But here's what researchers discovered. It blocks a pathway in your body called mTOR. When mTOR is constantly switched on, your body prioritizes growth over repair. Over decades, that imbalance accelerates aging. When you inhibit mTOR periodically with rapamycin, you shift the balance back toward repair and cellular maintenance. In multiple animal studies, rapamycin extended lifespan, even when started later in life. That last part is important. Most longevity interventions show diminishing results the later they're introduced. Rapamycin kept working. Sinclair reportedly takes a low dose once per week under medical supervision. But I'm being direct with you. This is a prescription drug with real risks. Immune suppression, metabolic side effects. This is not something you experiment with on your own. I'm including it because it's in his stack and you deserve accurate information, not because I'm recommending it. The human trial data is still developing, but the mechanism is compelling and the animal data is some of the strongest we have in aging research. What he dropped. This is the part most people miss. This is what I told you to stay for. Sinclair has significantly pulled back on high-dose antioxidant supplements. Things like large doses of vitamin C and vitamin E. The kind millions of people take every single day thinking they're protecting their cells. Here's why this matters. Your body is not designed to be shielded from all stress. When you exercise, you create oxidative stress. When you fast, oxidative stress. Cold exposure, oxidative stress. That mild stress is not the enemy. It's the signal. It tells your body to activate its own repair and strengthening systems. When you flood your body with high-dose antioxidants, you're not adding protection. You may actually be silencing the very alarm that triggers your body to get stronger. Think about that for a second. The supplements you might be taking for protection could be working against the process of recovery. This isn't fringe thinking. The research on this has been building for years, and it represents one of the most important shifts in Sinclair's 2026 philosophy. It's not about taking more. It's about taking the right things at the right time and knowing when to get out of your own body's way. The foundation, everything else sits on. Before we wrap up, there's something Sinclair repeats in nearly every interview. The supplements are the amplifier. Lifestyle is the signal. If you're not sleeping well, if you're eating processed food around the clock, if you're sitting all day, these compounds will not save you. They're designed to enhance a body that is already doing the basics right. Sinclair consistently practices time-restricted eating, Zone 2 cardio to protect his mitochondria, strength training, sauna, quality sleep, a mostly plant-based diet rich in natural compounds called polyphenol. That is the actual foundation. Everything else builds on top of it. The 3 big takeaways. So what does the 2026 stack actually teach us? First, target the biological declines you can measure. NAD levels fall. Taurine levels fall. These aren't abstract ideas. They're measurable, and they're addressable. Second, control your metabolic health, especially blood sugar. Glycation is quiet, cumulative, and devastating over time. This lever is available to almost everyone. Third, think in cycles. Sinclair's 2026 protocol is less about taking everything constantly and more about strategic timing. When you take something matters as much as what you take. What is your opinion? Which compound surprised you most? Rapamycin? Taurine? Or are you skeptical of the whole thing? Drop your honest take in the comments. Do you believe aging can genuinely be slowed? Or is this just expensive biohacking drama? I want to know where you actually stand. If this breakdown gave you something useful, hit like and subscribe. We go deep on longevity science, brain health, and performance every single week. And one final reminder, nothing in this video is medical advice. Metformin and Rapamycin are prescription drugs that require physician supervision. Always talk to a qualified doctor before changing your routine. Aging might be inevitable, but how you age, that's increasingly looking like a choice shaped by science. See you in the next one.